Good morning. Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services, and here we have another impromptu live stream. As I become more comfortable um, planning out what I'd like to be able to cover, I could at least be able to post a projected time when to come on. Okay, verifying that we are being heard. Let's just turn this. All right, turn that off. I do monitor myself on my iPad because there are times when I come on and forget that my mic is not active. So, thankful for those who are tuning in right now from wherever you might be. This is going to be helping some of those viewers who have been requesting. When I do some of my shorts, they want me to do a more in depth look at, well, how do I build chords, especially the gospel ones. So, that is kind of prompting this one. I do have some information to share, which I will flash up thanks to other content creators. I am borrowing some of their screenshots of information, especially about chords. And I find that a lot of content creators that I do watch always ask right up front if you like the type of content which I am creating to help the not just the church musician community, but musicians overall, subscribe to this channel. Consider subscribing to us so you can keep up with our content. And of course, like the video. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us in the YouTube algorithm. And I always like to see comments because sometimes I plan to do about a half hour live. And then when I get comments, it'll stretch out, which is okay with me because I'm answering questions. So feel free to also ask questions. So what are gospel chord progressions? Let's go to my scene, which I again borrowed. Of course, I'm looking for it now. Here we go. Thanks to Piano Note, who had created this breakdown of chord construction, triads, and six. The following table lists 12 different routes for constructing three basic triads, plus major and minor sixes. The columns on the right show the notes contained in each form. So as you look, just in the key of C, major, minor, augmented, major six, minor six, and that's just the beginning. That's where it starts. It continues after that with dominant seventh, minor seventh, major seventh, diminished sevenths. All of these chords which go into the formation of gospel chords. So we're going to be in the key of C, and we're going to look at how some of these chords out of these, 12 different chords, your basic chord construction, help to give us that gospel sound based upon the person who's playing it. I'll let you look at this some more while I reposition myself. Now, what I may want to do is let's see if I could bring that screen into what we have right here. Let me go and get it. Okay, I wanted to see what image that was and where I have it saved. Let's bring that in and use that as a point of reference. There it is. So we're going to bring this in because it's always good sometimes to see a visual of what we're talking about, chord construction. And let's limit it to, I love technology, the first portion of it, and let's stick it, let's move me, I'm not that important, out of the way. And let's stick it right here. Hopefully what you're viewing on will give you a good picture of what we're talking about. As I say, feel free to ask any questions because I am monitoring for content. Okay. So, those of us that are piano savvy, who have had book knowledge, already know a triad consists of 3 chords played simultaneously. That there are your first inversion, your root position, which is mean the lowest note determines the root of the chord. So even if I were to change, add on my left hand another note, that's always going to be root. But the minute I change the note, which you can't see, the minute I change that note, that root position now changes. And I need to adjust that because I need you to be able to see. Let's move over. There we go. That is not so much needed for right now, for what I'm doing, because I want you to see the chord names and how they change. If I adjust that right here, make sure that, there we go. So that now stays in place. And I'm monitoring in case there are any questions. So, and this will help the new musician who has not had formal piano training. So back to what I was saying. There we go. This will be your root position. But if you change any note, all of a sudden now it no longer becomes the root position. The root position becomes the lowest note. The name of the chord changes. So as we were looking up in our write-up here, 12 different chords that can be assigned to a progression. I've always said the minute you get that gospel sound, you are adding a jazz R&B flavor to that traditional chord. Now, the natural system, which I did talk about, has its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to root position. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, 7th or diminished. Again, if I do this, it's called a C major 7th. So diminished in the 7th position and then back to root position. So those are your first building blocks. That's your pavement, and then you begin to build on top of that. Now, what makes it gospel? I've always said when you add major 7ths, minor 6s, and diminished chords, this is when I have discovered in my years, just verify nobody has a comment, in my years of what gives me a replica of the gospel sound. Now, as a youngster, my father played the organ. He had a style from the musicians he heard play. I never remember him saying that he ever went to a teacher to teach him how to play, but he was also a church musician. His father was a pastor. Not only was he a church musician, but he was a Hammond organ certified technician. So he began to repair Hammond organs as well as pianos, which is why I'm so comfortable in what I do, because he would take me along as a youngster to churches. When he would repair the organ, he would have me sit on the organ and make sure that all the notes that were working. So I got comfortable being on different types, not just regular Hammond organs or pianos, but pipe organs too. So I have a level of comfort that many of you may never experience. But that doesn't change the fact that the chords have to be heard first in the head or read off sheet music. Or in this case, as you see, we have a write-up of what these chords are called. Major, minor, a 6, or A, so C minor 6. There we go, minor, there we go. Diminish. So who decided that, well, I got a 7th in there, right? There we go, I had to put that 7th in there. So who decided what the gospel sound should be? I don't know. One thing I will be when it comes to the theory of music, I will tell you when I don't know something, but then I will search it out with the whatever is available to me, especially online. Sometimes you can't ask a person who plays what they hear. Some say play by ear. No, I play by hear. What do I hear? If I hear somebody doing this chord, and I hear them do this chord, and I hear them do this chord, I hear them do this chord again, I'll recognize the placement of the notes by following the scale, taking off the notes I don't hear, and playing the notes I do hear. Same on the left hand. Those are the notes I hear. So, but I have to know that they exist first, which is why I have this chart up. So I've given you the Nashville chords. When gospel music, as I began to transition from hearing a lot of big band music, being a instrumentalist in my high school, I learned to play by sheet music, and I heard so many different variant types of music. When my era or time came to play in church, I would hear them playing basic chords to songs, and I would go G. Every now and then I would hear him do a minor in there. Let's pick a song that I would hear all the time. Let me see. Guide me, O thy great Jehovah. Guide me, O thy great Jehovah. Pilgrims to this barren land. Now I'm not a singer. You should know that by now. But I would hear the and they wouldn't do it in the key of C. I'm just going in there for example. I would hear the organist who at that time who was a trained musician. She wonderful musician. I learned a lot of basic knowledge of how a hymn should sound from sheet music from listening to her play. But it would always be lacking something. When I got a chance to play the song, my ear would say, well, gee, change that chord, add that change. I would start reaching to those jazz-infused chords or big band chords that I would hear in my head. Again, I could hear that without a problem. But then when I began to miss out on the other sounds and tones that help to bring a smile on my face as an instrumentalist, not a pianist playing it, I wanted to infuse those songs. So when I go home and practice and I go, okay, so that's my melody. Where's my basic? Then I go, well, gee, I got so many other notes here. Let's try this. Nice. Let's go to the minor. Let's throw a seventh in there. And another seventh in there. Wow, look at how pretty that sounds. And I'm using more notes. Let's throw another seventh in there. Go to the minor. Throw another seventh in there. Another seventh. And round it out with a major. Now, all of a sudden, I could, when my opportunity became my opportunity to basically be the main musician, I didn't play it like I learned it, but I began to add, make sure that I have no questions. I began to add all of those flavorings of tones from other songs that would help it in my era of gospel. Now, of course, the traditional gospel sound dealt with dun, dun, kind of a ragtime, R&B, jazz connotation. usually they would just speed a song up to be able to fit in all of those what I call tricks of the notes, the flipping. And I'm again as a young pianist who loves all types of music, I would soak that up too. But then I would hear it and I go, okay, they're going from here. So I would hear that and I go, okay, that's kind of the era in which I'm from. But why are they leaving out the? Why are they leaving that much of it out? Then I had to understand that the older musicians who preceded me could only go as far as their musical skill set would allow them. So they became comfortable in turning a gospel sound into a ragtime sound, and you could tell who joined. When I would go to different churches, I would hear that same style from the older musicians. Now, those who were of my age group were bringing in a lot of the other sounds. Those that did get a chance to go to a music teacher who learned classical, they could bring in the classical tone, but they would always want to revert to what they heard. Six, 5, 4, plus 5, 6, 2, 5, 1, 7, 6. So, and I always felt that music was supposed to be played first by the musician and then received by those who are listening. So I would always want to have my own version of gospel progressions built upon everything that I have learned. And that's what I'm going to show you. Now, the chart is up there. That's our Nashville system. I'll take that apart and spread it out to help give me my tone, to give me the tone I want. Now, if I'm going to walk down a progression, I'm going to go a little bit of contemporary to get to the same place. Now, if I want to diminish, I can go this way. I love the big band sound, and that is what you're hearing. The big crossover. Here it is. There it is. Now, you won't find a lot of musicians doing this chord because you have to be able to hear every note. And when I don't hit the right note, I can hear when it's not right. Who joined us? I'm letting you see the chording, letting you see the fingering. Get out of the way. Because it's got to resolve. See the movement. That's big band. Always constant movement. And you can't do this change without having a good understanding of where the chords are going to fall. And I'm continuing to go up. Using every avenue of chord tones that I have heard. Now, if I had to write that out on sheet music, or if that was written out on sheet music, I'd go crazy trying to find and using a note chart, trying to find every note that I'm playing and what finger to put in that position. But because I've practiced this so many times, yes, I'll use that song. As the Deer. Now, this song, in its pure sense, is perfect. Nashville chords fit perfectly with a little bit of a contemporary change. Now, would I want to make that gospel? I've always said it's just adding a seventh note and a diminished chord. Is it necessary? That's that contemporary feel. So many ways to fill in a gap of space in these type of songs. So now I am improvising, which is the one thing that church musicians have license to do, to improvise. Who's joined? To improvise every time they're playing. So now I am stretching out. I'm looking where the melody is. I'm leaving the middle range where my chords would be. And when I get higher, now I can improvise melody and put chords on top. Now we're into that minus tone of the chord. And again, I always learn a song the way it's played correctly before I begin to add chords to actually add a different touch to it. Basic. Making it simple. But when you want to add progressions, especially as a musician, you never want to take away from the melody. Now, I understand the whole reharmonization concept. You just want to add your own touch to it. But then from what I've been able to hear, you always limit yourself to one path to get there. For me, again, some people like sausage on their pizza. Some people like anchovies. I don't like anchovies on my pizza. So it's all a matter of who the chef is, musician-wise, and how they're feeling that way they want to reharmonize chords. Me, I love basic first, and then add a little seasoning as you go. Resolve. A little classical. Now I know I'm in the 4. I know that's the chord coming. The next chord is going to be a E. Now here I can go resolve it. Dun, dun. Seventh E, no, D7, G7, turn around, E to an A7, back to the D7, G7, back to a different version of the E, different fingering for the D7, melody at the top, jazz turn, nope, and finish with the root or version of the root. I don't have any questions, but as you can see, I am borrowing chords, root notes, minors, diminished chords from so many keys just to add a different flavor. Now, is this considered gospel? If gospel is an emotional, musical way, a way of emotionally presenting music, then yes. Is it always religious? No, but it could be gospel in that when you're thinking and you're just letting it out, and the person who is hearing it is responding to what you are emotionally playing. No matter how you approach it. And how they are piecing together those chords, the minors, diminish, the minor 6, or if it's just single notes. Just giving you my concept of the adaptation of the actual gospel style. Is it gospel if it doesn't move the person who's listening to it? It depends upon who the listener is. Now, to the trained musicians, a lot of what I'm doing makes no musical sense because I'm not looking at a piece of sheet music or a representation of sheet music which is telling me play that C. I'm not looking at anything. My mind is saying C, 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 C. Hands are getting there on time. My mind is saying run. No sheet music is before me, nor is there any sheet music I have practiced to be able to allow me to think what I want to do. D flat, C sharp, and just call it out. B major. There is no sheet music. E major down. No sheet music at all, but my thought process and my what I call the triple P. Practice, triple P. Practice, performance. Not the triple P. I had shared it with somebody too. And I forgot what it was. But performance and practice. Practice, preparation, performance. I try to keep these terminologies in my head. Practice is, and then preparation. What would I use that with? Nothing. But in somewhere in a song, if I wanted to use that, if it came to a point where I'm doing a solo and I just felt the the method or the inspiration to do something like that, if I never practice it and then perfect it, or I got my P's messed up. Go back, practice, preparation. There we go, and then perform. If I didn't prepare or didn't practice, then I could not perform that cleanly. Now, the only person who would know that it wasn't clean was another musician. Somebody else would say, "Oh, he's talented." No, there's so many mistakes in there. And then, of course, performance is when you sit down and it's you and the keyboard, not you and the audience or you and the singer, but you and the keyboard become one. So now you are thinking how you want to attack a song or play it subtle. What song could I put in there? I could do I Surrender All. Got the melody at the top, and now I'm thinking the movement of the chords in the middle, and my lowest note, the bass, anchoring all that together. All of that is happening at the exact time that I'm playing. My approach is always to make the song recognizable, no matter what genre of song that I'm doing, and then to give respect to the original songwriter so that his melody is heard. Now, if it's my song, then that doesn't matter. And then chord around it to where it will evoke the best emotion out of the listener. Now, I'm not trying to get everybody to charge. A lot of our church musicians today always want to sound the alarm and have people, as they say, running and shouting and giving praise. But sometimes you need to listen. That's why I believe it's in Colossians that one of the members of the musicians union that I'm in talks about the songs, that songs should be spiritual, inspirational, making melody in your heart. So every song does not have to, as they say, call alarm to what you're going to do. You want to be able to have that ability to allow the technique of the instrument that you're playing come through. Hearing every note in its place and giving it a nice touch. Always looking to see if there are any questions. So I'm still in the key of C, but I've touched on A, B, D, E, C sharp. Haven't touched on A flat or F sharp, G flat, or B flat as far as all the chords that I've been playing so far, giving a impression of what gospel can sound like for today's musician. Now, my era of gospel music is considered old timey, and I understand that. But it suits me for being able to adapt to all the new styles of music. Now, again, nothing against the 1/4, the five tones, the 5/4 1. Nothing against that, because I'm hearing some excellent music being done. But my era calls out for some sevenths in there, some minor sixes, some more sevenths, and some a little contemporary. My era calls out for that because that lets me know that there are more notes which are not being explored, and that's okay because music revolves around itself. It will one day revolve back to the era of minor 7/7 minor 7/7. It's going to come back there. Why? Because jazz has not faded away yet. R&B has not faded away yet. The fusion of the funk has not faded away yet. There is so much music that uh, will work its way back into the genre of the actual sound of gospel. Gospel is the musician behind the instrument. Even a person playing a trumpet can be considered gospel. If you pull up my patch, because I love doing this where again, I was an instrumentalist, not a trumpet player, but I was a French horn player. But I got a chance to sit with guys who play the flugelhorn. There we go. I'm trying to remember runs that a French horn player would do, and of course muted. So I don't limit myself just doing piano only. I will venture into flute, strings, trombones, saxes, just to hear the chords that a piano doesn't give me, but an instrument or a jazz band group would. So I think I spent as much time as I wanted to on this. I'm always looking for questions, and I don't see any. Usually the questions would extend me. So I want to again thank you for spending some time with me here. Let's bring you back to my homepage. I want to thank you for spending this time with me. As always, if you have any questions about what I've been covering, I will be doing more of these. I'm going to commit myself to doing a schedule. Maybe I will see about 10 a.m. being a good time for me to come online and see those that are online. I know some are in different parts of the world that do watch me, and at least spend a half an hour creating more content. This is my first with the gospel chords and the different progressions. I may cover some light ways to incorporate gospel in some of the music that you're currently doing today. And of course, if there are any questions, I'm always open for questions of the actual content that I am creating based upon my experience, of course. So, first of all, If you like this type of content, so consider subscribing to this channel. As you can see, I am wearing my Sound of Joy. Uh, this is grifting time. Sound of Joy wear. This is the first generation. The newer ones don't look like this. In fact, I've got to get the newer one because it's much better than this one. I create my own merchandise as part of what being an actual creative mind is. I'm not just a musician. I will be covering some of the new software that's coming out. I'm looking at perhaps downloading the Logic Pro for iPad. I do have an M1 iPad, and I'm looking at perhaps venturing into that world also as I see as I watch other people get into it. It's something that maybe I want to contact, maybe creating gospel music on an iPad and being able to share that in your several locations. So I'm gonna look at that. That's on me. Of course, I do have more merchandise on my store. If you're watching this, then you have a link to my store where I've got cups, and I've got hoodies, and I've got. I think I have an iPad case. I may come up with another one just for organists. There's so many different versions of iPad. Who knows? But Sound of Joy Music Services. Like, subscribe, and of course, leave your comment. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I will see you on my next live. Take care.